Hi, this is Mike Levine for Audiofanzine. In this video, we'll look at editing vocals with Melodyne Essential. It's the least expensive of the Melodyne versions, and it's the one that's included with certain DAWs such as Sonar and Studio One. In other DAWs, you can open it as a plugin. Although it's not as powerful a tool as Melodyne Editor or Melodyne Assistant, it can still do quite a bit of digital manipulation of audio, and it lets you not only correct pitch in vocals or monophonic instrument tracks, but also edit timing. Unless you're working in one of the DAWs in which Melodyne is integrated into, you have to open it as an insert on the track in which you have your audio, and then you have to transfer the audio in. And I'll show you with this little vocal clip we have here. Now, as you'll hear when I hit play, this vocal has some issues that need to be corrected. So I will hit transfer and hit play, and here we go. As you can see, Melodyne is capturing that vocal audio. Once it's done, hit stop, let it finish its little calculation, and now we see all our notes displayed in front of us. So as you probably heard when I played that, there are some real serious pitch issues here and even some timing ones. So let's make sure first that we can see the entire track to start with. We can change zoom level in a couple of ways. We can use the zoom tool, which is a little magnifying glass, and you manipulate that by clicking and dragging it. You can use it to change the vertical zoom, the horizontal zoom, or both. Or if you prefer, you can use the scrollers, which are at the bottom and side of the Melodyne window. If you click on those little outside sections and pull on them, you can zoom in and out either vertically or horizontally, depending on which scroller you're using. And you can use the center sections to move the whole thing backward or forward in either in time or in pitch, again, depending on which one you're using. Okay, since there's so many pitch issues in this vocal track, I'm going to do a global pitch correction on it. You can also go in and go note by note, but in this case, let's try to get everything pretty close. So here's how we do it. I hit Command A on a Mac or Control A on Windows, and all the notes are selected, and you see them turn dark red. And if I have Show Blob Info selected in the View menu, which I do, I'll see pitch information next to the selected blob. So now we open the Correct Pitch macro, which you get up here on the upper right. It gives you two parameters you can adjust. Correct Pitch Center, which corrects flatness or sharpness, and Correct Pitch Drift, which helps remove wavering in a note, but it doesn't mess with the vibrato. Unfortunately, in Melodyne Essential, you can't adjust the vibrato, and that's actually a very powerful feature in other versions of Melodyne, which helps you with a lot of different types of correction. But you can still do quite a job using Melodyne Essential. So I'm going to slide the Correct Pitch Center slider. Now watch the notes as I do it. You see them moving to their correct pitches. Now, if you're worried that you're overcorrecting and it's going to sound unnatural, you can set the slider to a lower value. But frankly, I found 100% to be fine in almost all cases. This kind of adjustment does not give you the T-pain effect or anything like that. It's just adjusting pitch. Now let's move to the Correct Pitch Drift slider. And the wavery lines you see on each of the blobs represents movement in the pitch, either from wavering or vibrato. And as I said, this macro won't affect the vibrato, but it can help with the wavering. So I'm going to move the slider and let's watch the notes again. You'll see things tightening up just a little bit. Okay, so now let's listen. As you can hear, those notes on the end got quantized to the wrong pitch because they were so far off that Melodyne thought they were a different pitch. But no problem, I can just, with the pitch grid on, drag them to their correct pitches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is how you individually edit notes. Now you'll notice when I move them, they snap right to a pitch. That's because the pitch grid is on. However, if I didn't want them to do that, I could hold down the Option key on a Mac or Alt on Windows and drag at the same time. And when I do that, the pitch grid is temporarily turned off. So I can move the note wherever I want. And there's sometimes when you want to move it by hand, you don't want to necessarily have it snap exactly to the pitch. Depends on the context. Other than those couple of notes, the pitch macro actually made a big difference on the pitches. Made it sound a lot better. Let's say we want to tighten up the timing. Now we could use the quantize time macro, but in this case I'm just going to use the main edit tool, and it's the only edit tool you get in Melodyne Essential, but it has multiple functions. We saw it before used for pitch, now let's use it for timing. And you see the little arrow icon? That means you can drag the note backwards and forwards in time. So there's this little repeated phrase near the end of this that's kind of phrased a little differently, and let's say we wanted to make it similar phrasing-wise. First of all, let me play you that section.
Yeah.
So if I want to make the second phrase more like the first, I can select that first note of the second phrase and drag it to make it longer like the phrase before. But wait, it's snapping to grid. That's because the grid is activated, but no worries, like with the pitch grid, I can override it by holding down Option on Mac or Alt on Windows as I'm dragging. Okay, so now I'm moving it, but now you see what's happening. The note after it is changing too. That's because Melodyne has detected a transition between them and essentially has linked them together. So when you change the length of one, it affects the other. However, you can unlink them by moving the note to a completely different location and then back, or cutting and pasting it back in. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can move the first note without the second one changing. Okay, let's listen.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if I wanted them to be identical, I could copy and paste as well, right from within Melodyne, or I could do it from my DAW's edit window. There may be some situations where you want to edit one part of a note and not the other. So you can cut the notes using the note separation feature of the edit tool. And to do that, you hover right over the note until you see that little cross icon. Then you just click and it separates them. So that's also an important thing that you can use sometimes. Anyway, I'll undo that. And now let's compare the results. First, I'll play the unedited version of the vocal part. And now the edited one. So even though it doesn't have all the tools of the higher versions, you can do quite a bit with Melodyne Essential. This is Mike Levine for Audiofanzine. Thanks for watching.